Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another ELESTRALS deck profile for you. This time I'm coming at you with the king himself, Drakking. I've been waiting to try this deck out for quite some time. Just had other stuff that I've been playing in the meantime, but finally got around to doing some testing with it, and I gotta say, I think I enjoyed this deck about as much as I thought I would. So, Drakking, a lot of you probably already know, is a very powerful Elestral that can take control of Elestrals that it destroys in battle. For my Yu-Gi-Oh! Players out there, it is our Go-Yo Guardian. So, going to be talking about the deck centered around it here. Now, I am going to kind of do the order of this deck list a little bit differently. Usually I do all the Elestrals, then all the runes, and, you know, then the spirits. But I'm going to start off with, like, our package, I guess, quote-unquote, for the deck, right? Because I think that there are some cards, like, there's a rune we're going to talk about a little bit out of order. So we're going to do it this way, right? So first off, we have 1, 2, 3 copies of Eddie, as well as 2 copies of Drakking. So, Eddie is a card that you've probably seen quite a bit of. Of course, a very, very good reactive Elestral. We've played it in a lot of our decks we've featured so far, but we've never talked about the second effect of Eddie here. When a player casts Rock in a hard place, you can special send this Eddie into Kerberos from your hand or deck. Similarly, this other Elestral we've got here, Drakking, which we're playing 2 copies of, is a 2/2 Lunar that says you can target a 1-spirit Elestral and exchange its base attack with this Drakking's base attack until the end of phase. So another really, really good reactive 1-drop Elestral. That has a very similar effect to Eddie's second effect. It says when a player casts Rock in a hard place, you can special send this Drakking to Drakking from your hand or deck. So we definitely want these creatures to be in play when we're casting this Rock in a Hard Place card. Now you might be thinking, if that's the case, wouldn't you want 3 Drakkings as well as 3 Eddies? The thing about Drakking, and there are even some Drakking players who just don't even play this card at all, but the thing about Drakking is that while both it and Eddie are good reactive tools, Drakking is a little bit more narrow in how it can out Elestrals, right? It can only use this effect on 1-spirit Elestrals, and it only swaps the base attack. So if your opponent has like an Astrabbit in defense mode, you can Eddie and change it to attack mode and battle over it. But Drakking can't really do anything about it, right? Because the 2 attack, it can like swap its 2 attack with what? Astrabbit's 2 attack, and then it still can't battle over it. Similarly, there are some 2 or higher spirit Elestrals that A could potentially switch to defense mode or attack mode or whatever and battle over, whereas Drakking, again, can only be used on 1-spirit Elestrals. So that's why we're playing 2 of this, but still 3 of Eddie. Alright, so what is Rock in a Hard Place? Rock in a Hard Place is an invoke rune that costs a water and a lunar that says, this Rock in a Hard Place cannot be chained by counter runes. Target a rune and Elestral on an opponent's field, that opponent destroys one of them. So it's pretty decent removal, right? You know, paying 2 spirits to hard remove a card is a pretty standard going rate. Your opponent does get to pick, but honestly, that can be a good thing because it can give you information about which card your opponent values more and which is more of a threat, right? Like if your opponent just lets their Elestral go, then maybe their face down isn't as big of a threat. Of course, your opponent might also let their Elestral go, so that way it doesn't get taken by the Drakking, which I alluded to before. And we're also playing 1 copy of Kerberos, which was mentioned on Eddie. So Drakking, as alluded to before, 7/4, whenever it battles over an Elestral, you can take control of it, enchanting it with Lunar or Water, so that's obviously quite good. The Kerberos is a 9/2 double water that can potentially destroy cards in the field by disenchanting double water, and then you can also heal back based on the number of spirits of the destroyed card. Keep in mind, if you destroy a face-down card, you don't get anything back, but I think it is still worth it to target face-down cards a lot of the time. Or not target, because Kerberos actually does not target, which is a pretty good part of its effect. So, alright, there's our kind of, again, main package of the deck there. That's kind of what the deck is all centered around. So the thing to know about how to build your Drakking deck out from here is that keep in mind that Eddie and Drakking are both very reactive cards in general, so they're not the kind of things you want to be like slamming down on turn 1. Not that you can Rock in a Hard Place on turn 1 anyway. So for some of our other Elestrals in the deck, I wanted to focus on more good proactive cards. In that vein, we have 3 copies of Galaxy, just a great water card overall. Now, granted, you don't want Galaxy to be out while you have Kerberos or Drakking, because Galaxy swaps the stats of every Elestral that's water enchanted, right? So your Drakking becomes a 4/7, and your Kuribus becomes a 2/9. So definitely make sure to watch out for that. But you can always just misenchant the Galaxy if you really want to cast it anyway, or just, cast something else, right? We're also playing 2 copies of Mustation. This is a 1/6, that's 6 defense. I believe the highest stat to date on a 1 Spirit Celestial. Well, until the next set when Star Bit comes out. But yeah, this is a pretty good, just again, proactive Water Spirit Celestial. On turn 1, you could just throw this out in defense mode, but also, of course, it does have the ability to expend water to swap its stats, meaning you can battle over pretty much any given 1-drop as well. And then, this is kind of a mix of proactive and reactive in terms of an Celestial body, but it's not a water card. These are all of the water Elestrals that we're playing. But we are also playing 3 copies of Specteris. Now, I will say that moving forward, I could very easily see moving 1 or maybe even 2 of these to the side deck, but I think Specteris is still a very, very solid lunar card in its own right. It's a 4/2 for 1 lunar that gains +1 attack for each suppressed Celestial, and when the Specteris enters battle with an Celestial, you can suppress it. So it'll pretty much always be at 5 attack when it's battling, right? So suppressing their Celestial is very good. It turns off buffs. If it has an effect that activates when it's destroyed in battle, it turns that off as well. So I think it's pretty solid. And then for the remainder of our Elestrals, would you believe I told you we're playing 3 Astrabbit? As I always say, it's an Elestral deck. We're playing 3 Astrabbit in it. So that's all the Elestrals. For runes, for non-Omni, it's 1 Earthquake, which is, again, pretty much a staple card. And then we got 3 copies of Tsunami as well, because we're already playing so much water that, I think it's fine to be on 3 Tsunami to try to stop, all of their attacks, right? For Omnis, we've got 3 Ambro. It's a staple. We are playing 2 Nog, 2 Nectar of the Gods. We're kind of a combo deck because, of course, we do like comboing Eddie/Drakid with Rock in a Hard Place. That said, you can also just, where are they? You could also just draw the Drakking and Kuribus and ascend them normally. So that's also fine to do too. But, we do have a combo that's not even really a combo in quotes. It actually is just a combo of 2 cards that we're trying to play. And if your deck is combo focused, I like playing Nectar of the Gods. We're not so combo focused that we need a full playset. But I think the 2 is perfectly fine here. Got 1 Resting on Your Laurels. It's a great card, great comeback tool. And then for counters, it's 3 Gorgon, 3 PTA, and then 2 Shield of Achilles. So, pretty standard stuff there. Alright, for the Spirit deck here, we are going to be on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 water, because we have a lot of water in this deck. We also have a good bit of lunar, though, so we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lunar. You could definitely get away with playing, 1, maybe even 2 less lunar if you really needed to splash some other stuff, but I think having access to a lot of water and lunar is very important for this deck, so I like having 9 and 7 respectively. And then for our last 4 spirits, it's just 2 Zaptors for the Astrabbits and 2 Tyratlas for the Earthquake. There are some people who play this as more of a 5s deck, so they might use more Thunder or Earth for whatever they're trying to play, or maybe even Fires for Nekruff/Lavalith, right? You could play some Moltugas and Nekruff in this deck too if you really wanted to. That is another pretty good engine you can play, but I just like having the really solid standalone 1 Spirit dudes like Galaxy, Specteris, and Mustation. Those have been performing pretty well for me, so. Alright, that is the list. Now, let's go ahead and check out our games here. Alright, let's dive on into these games with Drakking here. We're going to be playing against Queso Jama once again. Skipping past a couple of mulligans from him here. He's expended 4 solar, I believe, for those mulligans there, keeping this hand. So, Queso once again on the Pharaohgeist Revival deck, which, to be fair, does send a mulligan pretty aggressively. So the Golden Apples of Discord is coming down, discarding the Pharaohgeist. This was actually our first set of games here, so with the Golden Apples, at first I thought I picked the discard, and I pitched my Mustation here, but then Queso informs me here that it's actually supposed to be random, so I'm going to put that Mustache back in my hand, mix my cards back up, and we'll roll here in order to pick the discard. I also mill 2 on top of that, so... Alright, so I believe it's 1 closest to the main deck. So, yep, rolled a 2, picking that card there, which is the bunny, the Astrap bit. I would have liked to have kept that up, obviously, but not that big of a deal. Losing Rock and Hard Place and Nog, also really not that big of a deal. You know, it's like I said before, like, we are a kind of combo deck, but we also just play good standalone cards, so either way we are good there. Alright, Queso going for the Astrap. We're going to look at the top 3 and pick 1 to put in the hand here. But yeah, like I was saying, Queso's deck, the Pharaohgeist Reanimator deck there, definitely does tend to mulligan a little bit more aggressively in order to be able to find all the tools that it needs in order to launch its game plan. Alright, Queso's going to throw down a face down before sending back over to us, or passing back over to us, rather. I think I'm going to end up playing that Mustache here, actually, so no real loss in information there. We're going to end up using this to power over the Astrabit with the Mustache ability to swap its stats. I'm going to expend a water to do that right now. Alright, putting the back row down myself before entering battle. I think it's funny that, like, my Yu-Gi-Oh! Instincts are so ingrained that, like, even in ELESTRALS I play around, I play around Imperm and Mechanite columns, but anyway. Alright, is this another bunny? It is. Queso's got another Astrabit here, so really dig in for those cards. Yeah, probably trying to find that Rise from the Abyss. Rise from the Ashes, rather. So, yeah, I did see that Pharaohgeist go to the yard. Definitely do not want him to be able to find that, so I'm going to Gorgon's Gaze this bunny to make sure that he does not get the search there. I think that is worth the Gorgon's Gaze. I've seen some people let that Astrabit search go, or draw, whatever you want to call it, but I think it is absolutely worth negating almost every time, unless they're like low on spirits or something. So I thought about it for a little bit here. I kind of weighed my options with the Mustache, or deciding if I wanted to, you know, run out another 1 spirit Elestral. But ultimately, I actually decided to ascend to the Curibus that was in my hand. I figured this was as good a time as any to do it. We're also going to end up using the Curibus effect, but I'm actually not going for the rabbit. I'm going for the face down. Queso assumed I was going for the rabbit at first, but no, I actually did want to hit the face down because I didn't want to get, you know, bounced back by a shield or something was my main concern there. So we do have the Ambro following the Curibus coming down, so even though we didn't heal off the Curibus effect, that's fine. Yeah, I think a lot of people would try to go for the bunny here just to try to get that 1 water spirit back and also try to swing in for 2, but I honestly think that's a little bit greedy. Again, it's so easy to walk into a Shield of Achilles there and be really, really sad if you do. So I think it's worth it to hit face downs, even if you don't heal back for them. You know, it is, I think, yeah, very much the play a lot of the time. So looks like this is going to be a Corvishine coming down. Excuse me. Revealing the Ash Rabbit, the fire one, as well as Guardian of the Fleece on top. Remember, Queso's playing Guardian of the Fleece to equip to the Pharaohgeist and make it a complete tower, as it can't be destroyed by battle, can't be bounced, and can be protected from a card effect. So that's why it's in his deck there. Alright, so I think we're talking about Foretell a little bit here. Yeah, because I'll talk about this more in my solar profile. Yeah, I'll talk about this more in my solar profile, but I actually thought for a minute that Foretell, like, you didn't get to, like, pick the order they go back in on top. Like, they had to go back in the same order, so it is a little better than I thought it was. Alright, so getting that draw on the stack here. Okay, so going for the Spirit deck. Yep, for an Ambro. I was going to say probably for some kind of Invoke rune, so spending a Lunar, putting back some of those spirits there. Yeah, that's the thing about, like, you know, decks like this Pharaohgeist one here, right? Like, especially, again, ones that have to mulligan aggressively. So, is that you do run that inherent risk of being low on spirits and kind of have to plan accordingly. So, alright, putting back 3 solar there. We're both kind of low on cards overall. Looks like he's got the Corvishine plus 1 in hand. I've got the 2 in hand. The thing about Corvishine, though, that makes it a lot worse than Astrabit is that it gives you your opponent the information, right? So I know that Astrabit is probably going to be the next thing drawn and then played. You're seeing here this Galaxy. I almost threw a water on it by instinct, and then I realized, oh, that would make my Curibus have 2 attacks. So I'm actually going to misenchant the Galaxy and put a Lunar on it instead to make sure that it, you know, stays at 9 attack the Kerberos there. Gonna use Kerberos effect to pop the Corvishine and then heal one of those waters back. I think it's worth it to expend 1 to pop here, because it means I get to swing in for 2 with the Kerberos instead of having to use its attack to battle over the Corvishine, which is really nice. I'm basically spending 1 spirit to deal 2, which again, I very much think is worth it. Because again, you expend 2 for the Kerberos effect, heal 1 back for the Corvishine, and then swing in for 2 with the Kerberos instead of swinging just over a defense mode body. So, sure enough, here is the... Oh, I thought it was going to be the Astrabbit. Or Ash Rabbit. I always get those mixed up. No, it's actually Coagma, which is a 4/2, 1 Fire Spirit Celestial, which says draw 1, then discard 1 when it comes down. So the Guardian of the Fleece ends up getting discarded there. Oh, maybe not. Nope, it's actually the Ash Rabbit. Yeah, Ash Rabbit ending up going to the yard there. Yeah, here I'm pointing out, because he was about to pass over to me, but I pointed out, hey, my Galaxy is misenchanted, so, yeah, you can swing over that if you want to. Because, again, if I had appropriately enchanted the Galaxy, it would have swapped my Kerberos to a 2/9. Here we're going for the Drakking, so I can steal the Coagma's 4 attack and then battle over it. Although, I'm not even going to end up doing that here, because I realized, though, it's still more spirit efficient to just use the Kerberos effect. Like I said, I guess here I'm expending 1 to force Ojama to expend 1, because I'm really only missing out on the Drakking direct attack. But that's still worth it in this game state where I'm ahead on spirits. Or, I don't know, I don't actually know if I'm ahead on spirits. I think we're actually pretty even. I'm sure, pretty sure I still am. But either way, I'm ahead in the board state. So, like, if I'm not ahead on spirits now, I'm going to be very soon. So, alright, so we know there's a Guardian of the Fleece and then 1 unknown card in hand. Yeah, I'm feeling really, really good about this game state. Again, that Foretell, like, it's a fine enough mechanic, but it really does just give your opponent a lot of info. So, Morlith coming down here. No response from me. Milling 5. It's not really the best mill 5 there. That Rise from the Abyss right on top, too. That's pretty brutal. There was another Ferrogeist in there. That's not bad, but yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate. So, Guardian of the Fleece going on the Morlith. Yeah, Queso just kind of having to go a little bit all in on this Morlith here. Battling over my Drakking, which does deal a point of damage to me as well. Alright, drawing for a turn. And let's see what we end up finding here. Looks like I have something because I'm going right for the Spirit deck. One thing I do notice in these games that I should be holding my... I don't know, the Spirit deck, it doesn't matter, I guess, quite as much as far as, like, holding it tight, but it still is giving your opponent free info. So here I'm going to use the Kerberos effect just to get rid of the Guardian, like I knew that was going to happen. And I'm going to use an Ambro here to heal some of my spirits back. Spinning an Owloon to get back in water. And I think just, yeah, 3 water here. Queso, I believe, on no cards in hand, so I have 2, looks like. Checking the yard again. Maybe I'm debating if I want to expend a draw or cast something. Yeah, you know what? I remember that's exactly what it was. I was trying to figure out if I wanted to expend a draw or just throw down the Galaxy Misenchanted again to swing in, and I just end up going for the body now, you know. Kerberos battling over the Morlith, swinging for 1 with the Galaxy, setting 1, and then passing over to Queso, who is in full top deck mode. So, yeah, you know, I am very glad that I ended up... Yeah, it's going to be the end of the game here. Very glad that I ended up going into that Kerberos there when I did at the beginning of the game. So, going into our next game here. Queso going to go first once again. Going to end up mulliganing. But yeah, like I was saying at that last game, you know, my second turn, I had that debate if I wanted to throw out the Galaxy or if I wanted to ascend into the Kerberos. And again, like I said, I'm very glad I ascended into Kerberos because it absolutely just ran away with that game there. Alright, Queso drawing a new hand after mulliganing here. And I believe is going to end up keeping this one. Let's see how it ends up panning out. Alright, so he's going for the Spirit deck. Dropping a Frost. This can be an Avalanche? It is, so that forces both players to mill 3. Looks like he's going to hit Lumaru, Guardian, Morlith. I hit Nog, Drakking, Astrabbit. Okay. I mean, those are 3 really good cards. I would have loved to have opened those cards, especially Drakking going second is a very good card to open. His spells aren't terrible. Morlith is not a bad reanimator target. Not as good as Farrageist, of course, but definitely not bad. Another Frost, and it's going to be another Avalanche. So I'm milling Tsunami, Gorgons, Ambro, and he milled Quagmite. I didn't see the other 2 there, but looks like there's a Golden Apples of Discord was one of the other ones he milled from that second one. Alright, let's see what he's going for next here. It's going to be Lunar and Solar for a Drops of Leaf. Shuffling back Ash Rabbit, and I didn't quite get to see the other one there for drawing 3 cards here. So, yeah, it looks like he's digging. After doing some milling, just trying to dig for the Rise here. You know, this is kind of the same thing that I will say that to a lesser degree, I guess, on my end. I noticed this when I was playing the Waylance deck, is that there are some games where you really just are, like, struggling to get that Rise in the Abyss, or Ashes, I always call it Abyss. It looks like he did find an Astravit here, the Thunder one. So that's always a good opening move. But yeah, it's like, you know, you not only have to mill the big thing you want to bring back, but you also need that Rise from the Ashes, so. Alright. A lot of filtering, a lot of drawing this turn. Passing back over to me. Unfortunately for Queso, I actually just have the Eddy here, so we're going to Eddy, force the bunny to attack mode, throw down a face down, and then swing over the bunny. So I actually remember this opening hand. If I recall correctly, I actually opened double Eddy as my only ELESTRALs, and I was a little bit iffy, but decided to keep it. If I was going first, I would not have kept an opening hand like that. Eddy is a very reactive ELESTRAL, not a very proactive one. Reactive meaning Eddy's at his best when he is, you know, coming down and getting to use the effect, right? Eddy's not the kind of thing you just want to run out on turn 1. So if I was going first, I would have put that hand back, but going second, I will definitely keep a hand like that. Alright, so Campfell's coming down in defense position here. It's a 3/4, so Eddy can't inherently run over it. And although I do have that second Eddy in hand, I actually top-decked Specteris, and I was like, oh yeah, well, that'll just work too. I also have a Drakking already in my hand, if I recall correctly, which is kind of nice here. So, oh, you know what? I remember I think I have Rock in a Hard Place here, but I just don't get to use it because he's not setting any cards. So Specteris does suppress the Campfell before destruction, which does actually prevent the effect. So that would work on, like, Foamy too, for example, right? Suppressing an Elestral before battling over it, if I recall correctly, as far as I'm aware, does actually stop the if this would be destroyed by battle effects, you know, which is very, very nice. Alright, Nog coming down here. Yeah, I mean, this is just, you know, this is one of those game states where we're not even relying on our Ascensions here, like Drakking and stuff. We're just, like, we're basically playing a 5s deck right now, you know, between the Specteris and the Eddy. Just these efficient bodies that are able to, you know, battle over the opponent's stuff in very good ways. Just, like, give us a really good board state, you know, by turning the Astrab to attack mode or suppressing the Campfell so, you know, he couldn't heal back the spirits. Alright, he's thinking here. Going for a Thunder. And let's see what ends up coming down here. It's the bunny, yep, so I am going to end up PTAing the rabbit here. Oh, you know what? I don't have the Drakking in hand just yet, I'm pretty sure, because I just have the Rock in a Hard Place. And I'm like, you know, he just hasn't been setting cards this whole game, so I mean, that's kind of the thing, right, between sometimes using PTA in this deck, it's not always so clear-cut because you do need to be able to destroy, you know, an Elestral, right, in order to be real. Well, you know, your opponent has to have an Elestral and a back row for a Rock in a Hard Place, so if they don't, you know, then you can't use it. So also, of course, you know, it's kind of antithetical to running out the Drakking to battle stuff to, you know, to take it, when if you're just going to, you know, kill the stuff with PTA anyway. That's not to say PTA is a bad card in this deck, not at all. Okay, so here Queso's using Ambro and paying off the Astral Rabbit, which is a pretty good move, right? Basically saving a Spirit, because I'm going to just use the PTA to kill the bunny anyway. So might as well use the Spirit on the bunny now in order to, you know, basically get a free Ambrosia there. Now, granted, it also saves me a Spirit from having to kill it, but, you know, I think he values his end a lot more there. So, okay, Rise from the Ashes is coming down here, but... yeah, if I remember right, this is a game state where he has to bring back Morlith. I thought he milled Ferrogeist earlier, but I don't remember Ferrogeist coming down this game, and he would definitely summon it here if he could. Yeah, so it does end up being Morlith. That's another, again, that's that thing about the reanimation strategy. You gotta have both the Rise and the thing in the yard, right? So there's another mill 5 there. Still no Ferrogeist in the graveyard for Queso. Morlith is, though... the strongest Celestial on the board, and with 2 spirits, does mean it'll do damage here. So, like, even if it battles into Specterus and it gets suppressed, that doesn't, you know, change the fact that it has 6 over 5. So, more or less, suppression doesn't even matter at that point. He's battling over Eddie, which is definitely not a bad call here. Because if I do have Rock in a hard place, you know, obviously I could ascend the Eddie, but I don't think he actually sets a card. Nope, just passes back over to me. So... yeah, so at this point I do have Drakking in hand, because I remember, yep, this is where I send for it here. Sending away the Specterus down on the water, and there is the king himself. So, very, very, very beneficial game state for us to be dropping the Drakking here. Beneficial. It's just a very good game state for us to be dropping Drakking, because, like, yeah, all he's got is the Morlith. We can just take it here. Swing in for 2 with that. Just gonna put double Lunar on it. Yeah, he's gonna keep the Morlith upside down to kind of represent that it's on my board, and then... I mean, that's just the insane thing about the Drakking, is that you get to swing with the thing you take. Because Gilio Guardian at least brought the monster back in defense mode, so you couldn't battle with it that turn, but Drakking does no such thing, so... yeah, here he's going to play a Corvishine. There's the Ferrogeist right on top there with the Golden Apples of Discord. And unfortunately, it's just too late in the game for this to be, you know, mattering at this point. Especially knowing that one of those cards is going back on top, and then another card from hand is also going on top. Again, that's kind of the thing about Foretell that I'm not as big of a fan of, is just the fact that, like, you kind of seal your own fate there. Yeah, speaking of a sealed fate, this game's pretty much over. At this point, I'm just going to be able to battle and win on my next turn. So, we're going to end up wrapping it up here pretty shortly. I think he has, like, 2 spirits left, so yeah. It's about the end of the game. So, before we wrap up, I do just want to say thanks as always for watching, especially all the way to the end. I super appreciate you, and I will see you in the next deck profile. Take care, and goodbye.